Today we're talking about Workbook 5A, Exercise 2. In the textbook, it's on pages 8 and 9. And today we're going all the way to millions. Now, every year we go a little further in our conversation about whole numbers, and this is actually as high as we go. We don't go any further. After millions, then you get 10 millions and 100 millions. After millions come billions, and then trillions. And guess what? It goes on forever. There is never an end to numbers. It is what we call infinite. It goes on and on without end. And but the pattern stays the same. And so I want to remind you, as we talk about million, what we mean by a million. It shows a picture on page 8 of a house that they say sold for $2 million. And 2 million is written, of course, sometimes we write it just with the word million because there's so many zeros, sometimes it's a little hard to write it. 6 zeros behind a 2, these are the ones place, essentially. These are the thousands, and these are the millions. And then if you had a comma, then this would be the billions, and then comma, and these would be the trillions, right? So all of those work together to give us the numbers we're talking about. I want to point out to you that the number 2 million is 2 million ones, but remember, we could talk about it as being 200,000 tens, or it's 20,000 hundreds, or 2,000 thousands, 200 10,000s, 20 hundred thousands, or of course 2 million. It's good to understand that. Sometimes somebody will say this is $4,500. $4,500 can be written like this and read as 4,500 or as 4,500. As you'll see, as you've seen before through Singapore Math, as you'll continue to see, sometimes it's handy to be able to talk about how many tens or hundreds or thousands there are. So on page 8, I wrote it basically all of that again, written out to just remind you and discuss the fact that, let's just read one of these lines. 100,000 is 100,000 ones, 10,000 tens, 1,000 hundreds, 100 thousands, 10 10,000s, and 100,000. We've talked about all of these things before, we just haven't gone up to a million. I think it's interesting to notice if you look down at the columns, 100 is 100, 1,000 is 10,000s, or sorry, 10,100. The number 10,000 is 100 hundreds. The number 100,000 is 1,000 hundreds. And if you were to look at the number 100,000, if you ignore the last two, which are the hundreds, the 2 zeros that go with the hundreds, that's hundreds, and that's how you can tell what the number is. So look at that chart. Maybe go back and pause at the chart and see what it looks like, and just notice how nice the numbers work, how even they are, how symmetrical the pattern is. And the same pattern works for millions and billions and trillions and everything else. On page 9, the kinds of questions they ask are, number 1 starts with a census in 1980. They said the population of Singapore was 2,414,000 people. And then the question is, the digit blank is in the millions place. Well, the millions place is right there. It's 2,414,000. So the digit 2 is in the millions place. The next question says that according to the 1990 census, 10 years later, the population of Singapore has exceeded 3 million. In 3 million, the digit 3 is in what place? And of course we know it's in the millions place. Then we continued this exercise thinking about writing numbers in words. 5 million. Part B is 4,126,000. Part C is 3,690,000. Part D is 6,800,000. It's just working on that redundancy of how to state the numbers, and there's so much lovely predictable pattern about it that it's a good thing. Part 3 just wants us to write the following in figures using numbers. 6 million means I need 6, but I have nothing in thousands. I have nothing in the ones area. 7,003,000. Again, the key to this is thinking about the placeholders. If I have 3,000, that 3 is going to go in the 1,000 spot, but I don't have anything in the 10,000s or the 100,000s, and I don't have anything in the hundreds, tens, or ones spot. So that number is 7,003,000. Letter C is 8 million. That probably feels very easy to you. Part D is 9,023,000. So again, in my millions spot there's 9. In the thousands area I need 23,000, but I need to have a placeholder. I don't have any 100,000, and I don't have any hundreds or tens or ones. So that number is 9,023,000. Again, we're just getting started in this new book and this new level. We're working on all the things we've talked about before. This exercise probably won't give you much trouble, but pay attention to the words. Make sure you're doing it correctly all the way up to the millions place, and you can now work on exercise 2.